Greg Peterson, Nate Klaus here inside Memorial Stadium for Friday Night Lights number 2, Nate. A good turnout tonight, a lot of talent out there. I want to start with 4 guys that really impressed me at the wide receiver spot. First, you had Dominick Watt. You had Zavier Betts.
Yep.
You had Nate Sullivan from Bellevue West as well. And then you had Ty Hahn. They all were pretty impressive here tonight.
Yeah, I think the wide receivers were the story of the night. And of course, Zavier Betts coming in as the commitment, the Rivals 100 2020 commit for Nebraska. We didn't know that he was going to work out, so that was a good surprise. And I think that he pretty much proved that he's on a different level from most people. When the ball was catchable, he was coming down with it, and he was one of the fastest guys in the fastest man competition. Really just made plays all night long. Dominick Watt, the former 4-star Nebraska signee in the 2018 recruiting class that came up just a little bit short or didn't get cleared through the clearinghouse, NCAA clearinghouse, came up from Garden City to work out, and I think he really impressed. There was early on, I think there was a couple dropped balls that he had, but for the most part, he had a great night. And really, he was probably one of the guys that brought the most energy to the crowd. He was doing backflips and really kind of getting people pumped up, and so that was fun to see. And then Nate Sullivan and Ty Hahn, 2 in-state guys here that have gained a lot of attention here recently on the camp circuit. They came out and showed that they're guys to pay close attention to. And I think that you saw some other coaches from Northern Iowa that were here tonight. They were talking with those guys quite heavily. So 2 guys that are going to gain more offers, and I think 2 guys that are going to gain more attention from Nebraska going forward as well.
And then looking at the running back and the linebacker spots, Drew Christo had a great night tonight. And then there was a particular running back out of Columbus that really impressed the both of us.
Yeah, Drew Christo, I think, coming off of the Rivals camp in St. Louis, this is the second time we've been able to see him. I think he showed well tonight once again. And then Joey Brosh out of Columbus, kind of an unknown, to me at least. And I don't know too many other people that really knew of Joseph Brosh. But he came in, looked to be about 6'1", 195 pounds, built extremely well, very explosive. And he showed that he's a cut above tonight as well, whether it be with his speed, size, strength, just his overall elusiveness. I was impressed time and time again with him throughout the night. So he's definitely a name that I think has emerged as a legitimate prospect, and probably somebody that should have more recruiting attention than what he does right now.
Absolutely. And then a couple of big guys that caught your attention tonight too.
Yeah, I think maybe the one that stood out the most was Gunnar Killen, big, 6'5", 6'6", 300-pound sophomore to be, a 2022 prospect out of Wisconsin. And he's like the prototypical Wisconsin offensive lineman. For being such a young guy, he really impressed me time and time again during one-on-ones. He's still a little bit raw, but you could tell he's got all the tools to be a really, really good prospect. And you couldn't really get a sense. You knew he was big, but when you kind of got closer to him, you could tell just how big he really is. He's going to be a monster as he continues to go through high school. And then Elijah O'Nate out of Gibbon, kind of a small school Nebraska kid. I caught a couple reps of his that impressed me. For being out of a small school, I thought that he was a guy that did pretty well tonight. So a couple linemen there. It was a little lighter group this week. Not a ton of defensive linemen either, but those are 2 out of a handful of guys that really impressed.
And most of the star power here was not taking part in camp, but we got a chance to take a look at them, and the coaches sure paid them a lot of attention.
Yeah, big recruiting weekend, obviously, for Nebraska as they kicked off their Big Red barbecue today, and they had about almost close to 30 offer kids on campus, which is really, really impressive. Something that we haven't seen in a very long time. And, I thought it was interesting. You had 2 2021 offered quarterbacks out here, Peter Costelli and Santino Marucci. And it was interesting kind of seeing those guys talk with one another, their families talk with one another. Mario Verduzco splitting time, talking with each family. So that was an interesting dynamic. And then a lot of the official visitors were here, and so you got to see Sevion Morrison, Ajo, the wide receiver out of Florida, and really Josh Moten, the DB out of Maryland, 4-star DB. All the official visitors and a couple of the unofficials too, like Teddy Prohaska was back out here taking in the sights and sounds of camp. So it looked like those visits were going extremely well. Some of the guys were decked out in Nebraska gear. They looked to be looked like they were getting pretty close with some of the current Huskers on the team. So that was kind of interesting to see, and I have a feeling that we might be hearing some good news come out of this recruiting weekend.
Well, let's hope so. Well, that'll do it here for us tonight. Next up for us will be at the Rivals 5-Star Challenge down in Atlanta this week. So stay tuned in to HuskerOnline.com. We'll have plenty more for you coming up here in the next few days.